Hey guys, welcome to the Girl Take No podcast. I'm your host, Shaunie Sanders, and today I have with me Tracy Pendergast. She is the founder and CEO of Daisy Made. And Daisy Made is a thriving community that celebrates and empowers the everyday creative entrepreneur. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be chatting with you. I was going to say again.
So the question I like to ask everyone that comes on the show is to give me the story behind the brand. So tell me what made you start Daisy Made.
Okay. So in a nutshell, in my past life, I was an actress. And when I had my son, the whole acting thing was not going to work anymore. So I really decided to set that part of my life down, at least for a little while. And so I started a small business that I could run from home. And you know, as a fellow mom, it's very isolating.
Oh, yeah.
So now I have a small business that's isolating. I am a first-time mom, and I had no one to talk to and just felt like, where's everyone hanging out and talking?
Yes.
Where are we all going to talk? Yeah. So I really wanted to create a space where there was education for small business owners, but that was secondary. I really wanted a place where people could just support each other, barter, share resources, and have it feel like a big creative neighborhood. So that's why I created Daisy Made, and then the membership, which is Magnetic Makers.
I know. I've been on the website. It's super cool. I have to try to join the community. Let me ask you this.
Anytime.
Going from being an actress, going into entrepreneurship, how was that? How was that transition for you?
I miss the community, Shaunie. Like, we were just talking about how we both have a past at like Sirius and what it felt like to have all that energy in the building, and you never know who you're going to run into, and you feel so inspired. Every day is different.
Yes. That was so cool at Sirius too.
Yes. And then you start a small business and every day is the same. And it's like, where's that energy, that community, that hive mind? So for me, I just missed that, like that adrenaline rush, that feeling of never knowing kind of what's going to happen, and that the energy of conversations. So that was a huge adjustment. And then of course, just having time to have something that's all, you know, my own, that was different too. So I think mostly just that group energy, like I thrive off that. I love that. And that's probably what I miss the most.
Yeah, you're right. It could be a really solo experience when you jump into entrepreneurship and you're trying to figure it out, and you do everything. You're the bookkeeper, you're the social media person, you are the PR, you're the marketing guru, and it's a lot. And you're right. If you can have a community that you can lean on and that you can learn from, you know, it's really, really helpful. And I see why your community is so large the way it is.
Because no one can possibly naturally be good at all of those things, right? If you're really good at bookkeeping, you're probably not going to also be an amazing graphic designer or have an idea of how to show up on camera. Like, we all have different skill sets, and I think we need to be sharing them with each other a lot more. Yeah,
and I think it's important, like you said, that because we all have different skill set, it's okay to ask for help. Because I think as entrepreneurs, we really don't like to ask for help. We feel like we can do it all. And you're right, I'm not good at bookkeeping at all. I wasn't the best in math, everyone, so it's not my forte. So it's that asking for help. Why do you think it's so hard for us as entrepreneurs to ask for help?
Because why does the online world make it seem like it should be so easy to do everything? That's what I want to know. Like, if you go on TikTok, it's like, make 6 figures with a side hustle. All you have to do is this. Set up your little Amazon account. Print out it's like, oh, this seems so easy. But no, it's not that easy. And I think the internet likes to make it seem like you just follow this formula and success will arrive. And it's just not true.
It is true. You know what? A lot of people do fall for those really catchy things of, make 6 figures in 6 months, or, they fall for those things and they don't tell you all the behind the scenes, all the steps that you need to take in order to even get there.
Right. I've fallen for it many times.
Me too.
I'll probably fall for it again. Like, when anyone makes it seem like it's easy to do something that you really want to be able to do, I don't fault anyone for wanting to pursue that. I think it's great to take those big risks. And I do think it is possible to make six figures doing these things. But I really do believe that you also need support.
Yeah, you really do need support. So, in getting started with Daisy Made, what were some of the challenges you faced? Because like I said, here I am by myself and I'm trying to build this platform to create a community that I don't have yet. So what were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, first of all, just building trust. And I'm still working on building trust. And that comes from just being consistent and being authentic and being completely transparent and honest and talking about the thing again and again and again and showing up. It takes a long time for people to jump on board. So you do have to keep going for sure. And then once people were actually in the group, getting people to talk. That's always hard. It takes a long time for them to build that trust and create that safe space with each other. And again, I think it's just about really knowing who your people are, how you can help them, and just continuing to show up until that trust builds. It's community is a slow grow. It's not like virality where something goes viral and all of a sudden you have a huge audience. I mean, that's one thing, but having a tight community takes a lot of time. It's not overnight.
And I think people need to understand that, because you can have all these followers on Instagram, but how does that translate to actual community of people? I just did a show where I asked her, like, how do you get people to click on that button to get on that email list so you can now build that community? Because it's not easy. And I think a lot of it, like you said, comes down to trust. But how do you build that trust if they don't really know you?
I think it's just showing up authentically and connecting with people one-to-one. We're really lacking that in our space, I feel now. A lot of people want community, but I always ask people, like the small business owners who say they want to build community, are you getting out in your community? Like your local community? Are you in your community? And a lot of people are like, well, no, it's like my community's online. But it really begins in your actual community and by those one-on-one connections. At some point, you have to interact with people. I know, like a lot of creatives, we're very introverted, or we feel like we might be getting sold to, so we're a little standoffish. So if you're having trouble connecting with people online, I suggest finding places where your people hang out locally and hanging out there and making friends. That's a great place to start.
That's good advice, because people do need to understand. I think social media has came into a play and it really has taken away that one-on-one connection, where some people are very shy when it comes to meeting people, and they feel like online they're just a bit more comfortable. But that is a good statement to say that you need to get out in your own community. So what are you doing locally around you to build community there? And then that kind of like translates online.
Right. So like if you're a photographer and you really love taking pictures of, like, let's say artists or makers, and you want to build a community around your business, I would say start contacting local galleries or maker spaces and saying, would it be okay if I came by for a half an hour or an hour and offered mini sessions for your makers at like $10, like just something small, just to get to know them? Or can I come and take photos of your event? And really just start making those connections locally. And then those ripples do, flow onto into the online space, but it does take work.
Do you feel like the online attraction, meaning like the funnels that people put you in, do you think those work as well in terms of getting people to sign on to your community? Or do you think, hey, you need more meaningful and more thoughtful type of maybe marketing? I remember one company I used to work for, we always, because I've been in digital and tech, and we're always trying to give our customer a digital hug, right? And trying to meet them where they are in the omni-channel process. So do you think that taking someone through those different funnels really helps capture them and bring them into your community?
I think it can, because I can think of two people in my life, two educators that I found organically and I use their services and I really do love them. So I know that that can work. I've noticed lately, as someone who offers workshops as a part of my business, that people are now becoming reluctant to go to workshops. And it's because a lot of people now are saying, sign up for my free workshop. And then the workshop ends up being a pitch for their program. So now there's no trust there. And I think every time we adopt this new strategy and then everyone catches on, then it kills it. And then we move on to the next thing. So yes, these things can work. I don't think they work for forever. I think eventually they fizzle out and we have to get creative again. So I'm just all about, well, instead of doing adopting all these tactics, why don't we just like talk to people, make friends?
Listen, I think that is so true that when I see that whole thing, I'm like, hey, join my free workshop. I always think it's something that they're going to try to sell you in the midst of it, where it's not really free. They only give you a certain amount of information. You got to click through the funnel to get to whatever they want to offer next. So I could see.
You know what's coming.
Yes, it's just the way they do it. It's that lead magnet.
And it sucks too, because so sometimes we have workshops for like very specific niche things. And I think of different people in the community and I'm like, oh, that would be like really good for that person. I'm going to send them a DM and just invite them. People I don't know. And I'll reach out and say, hey, we're having this workshop. I totally thought of you. If you want to join, here's the link. Like, you're absolutely welcome. And people will leave me on read all the time. And I can't even take it personally because they don't trust me. They think that I'm probably trying to bait them into joining something, which I'm absolutely not. My intentions are good. But yeah, we're kind of conditioned now to feel like any sort of DM or invitation might be a sales tactic, which really bugs me. Yeah.
And like you said, we just conditioned that way to be a little skeptical of certain things. But in order to build a community, how important is it to capture email? To take your community outside of like social media, because people use a lot of social media to say, hey, this is my community on TikTok, this is my community on YouTube and Instagram, which you don't own those platforms, and what you have, you own. So how important is it to have your own site or email list or something that you own to make those real connections?
I feel like your email list is everything. It's really a direct connection to you. I think it gives you an opportunity to share a lot more about yourself that might not be appropriate within the context of your social media. For example, Daisy Made is a creative community. It's really about education and celebrating our community. It's not about me. I never want to make it about me. But in an email, I can share some things as a small business owner that I'm walking through and what I've done to move past them and how our community can help. And I feel that's an appropriate space. So I strongly suggest building an email list. And it's not as hard as you would think either.
A lot of people feel like it's really hard to capture emails today, because like you said, emails like gold. Someone give you that email, okay, they want more from me. And I know I've gotten a lot of people who said, when you're going to do a show about email, you're going to do a show about capturing how to build email. And, because a lot of people want to know, because they understand that if you really want to build a real community, that's where it's at. It's not just on Instagram or TikTok. It's really nurturing them outside of that. What's really important.
Absolutely. If anyone's really interested, I have to plug Liz Wilcox because she completely changed my perspective on email marketing. So if you find Liz Wilcox on Instagram, she'd be an amazing guest for your show. She's really made me look at email marketing more as sending people notes instead of sending newsletters, like keeping in touch and making it feel more personal. Again, I think people just want personal connection in every way. So I definitely recommend her.
I think what you said is important. People want personal connection, and it is so true. And I even think about that when it comes to like the kids and how they are so much on their tablets and their games. And it's like, okay, drop your tablets, go outside and play with other kids. People still need that one-on-one connection. It's not just about whatever's happening online. And
yeah, we might not even realize we need it till we get it, right?
Exactly. Which is why I think your business is so great, because you allow people to connect who are in that solo mindset. And being an entrepreneur, like you said, I think your site said it's like taking the solo out of it. It's not about being solo. It's about being able to rely on other people. And I really like that when you mentioned that, on your site. Listen, being a mom is super busy. It's super hard. And being an entrepreneur, running a business is not easy either. How do you balance?
I don't think there's ever balance. Do you?
No, it's not.
I think some weeks
I drop the ball sometimes, people.
Yeah, we all do. I think some weeks, some things get more attention. Some weeks others do.
Yeah.
But I will say I've tried to be better about theming my days. About Monday is like my admin day. Monday is when I get us reset for the week, both in my business and in my house. And Friday is another like wrap up reset day where I kind of focus on admin again and then reset. If I have that Monday and that Friday, if I can keep those things as my constants, the middle of the week always feels easier. When I start dropping off and going crazy Mondays and Fridays and I'm, doing podcasts and doing all these things, that's when I start spiraling a bit. So I think just holding certain boundaries in your work week, it's really important. But there's like school field trips come up. They
get sick.
There's always something.
You gotta go get it from
just
school.
Like a monster day. Oh my gosh, the sickness. Let's not even talk about that this year.
Let's not talk about.
It's been as bad for you.
Oh my God. Let's not even the sickness, but the numerous days where they got Spirit Week and today is Red, Blue, and Yellow Day, and today is like it's so many different things. Where
it's
I'm
so
like,
extra too.
I don't remember having this much in school at all when I went to school.
No, we had crazy hair day where you just used your own little rubber bands. We had crazy hat day where your mom would staple a little like paper to your head. Now it's like dress like a galactic superhero day. It's like I don't have these things just lying around.
Oh my God.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so you're right. It's not easy balance. And I rely so heavily on my schedule because if I don't, because one, I still work full time too, and I work from home and I work in tech. And it's like if I don't schedule out days that I create content, that I do podcast interviews, I will be completely insane when it comes to making sure a husband is taken care of, making sure he has dinner and he wants lunch and all this stuff and kids and activities and running. And I'm like, oh my God, I had to schedule it out. Cause I only do interviews on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because Thursday through the weekend, I just can't do it. Like literally I have to save some days for work, actual work.
Yeah.
And I have to save the weekend for my family. Like I just have to do it. So it's important to have a schedule, I feel like. What do you think?
Yeah, the days of flying by the seat of your pants are just over.
It's gone.
It's too much. It's just too much. And I love it so much because I just, that's another thing I really love about the membership is just kind of how different the perspective is, because we've had people come in to teach us about like time blocking or, lead classes, and it's all the moms kind of, I see them on Zoom looking at each other. Like, I'm sorry, we're scheduling in a little hot girl walk. Like, when? But it's about meeting people where they are. Everyone's experience is very different. Yes, I'm definitely in my schedule it out era right now. I can't. I live and die by my calendar. And that's a mental health thing. That's like a self-care thing.
Yeah. You know what? It's a self-care thing. I like that. You're right about that, Tracy. It's a self-care thing. So what are some of the elements of growing a strong community?
I think one of the biggest elements is really involving your people and giving them a voice, making them a huge part of your brand. I actually think that's probably the number one thing, really just celebrating your people. And whether you have a product-based business, whether you're a service provider, no matter what it is, if you're constantly celebrating your people and they're a huge part of your brand, I don't think there's any better advertising in this world than happy people whose lives are changing because of your product. So I would say that's probably my number one piece of advice. And then the other thing is really just leading with empathy. And that's about just really knowing who the people in your space are, why they're there, like what do they need help with, and what can you do to help? Having a really strong understanding of that. And I think part of that is understanding that you can't be everything for everyone. Like your community cannot be for everyone. If my community was a community for creatives, well, great. Now we have like people at all levels. Some people have teams. We have all different experiences, and we can't really connect with each other and talk about how it is to live this life. But if you're for creative solopreneurs, people who are working by themselves, then now we kind of we have a common understanding of how it feels to do something alone. So that's my other suggestion, is really zeroing in on who your community is for. Even though it feels like you might be leaving some people out, you're actually serving your people better.
A lot of people say niche down or narrow it down or have your client avatar well defined in order for you to build something meaningful.
I think for a community, it's crucial. And I'm not about niching down in so many ways. I would say you do you, and like follow your heart, make the things that feel good to you. But when it comes to creating a space where people feel like they can really share what's going on in their lives and be open, I do not think you can be for everyone. I mean, I couldn't just open the space to anybody who wanted to pop in, because some of my members might feel uncomfortable to share.
I think it is too.
So I think a lot of people
are in that mindset of like, well, I just want to help everybody. I want to help everybody break through. I want to help everybody, start a business. And they don't understand that you can stretch yourself too far. And that, like you said, it is okay to know that you're not going to be for everybody. Like everybody is not your client or customer or your ideal customer. Everybody is not your customer or your ideal customer.
Right. Yeah, you can love. I think you're right. It comes from a place of love and wanting to serve.
Because that's what's really, I feel like, is important too. What do you think make a great community when it comes to the involvement of your members? A great community. Because what are you without your members almost? You know what I mean? Because what are you without your members almost? You know what I mean?
So I think giving a safe space to offer feedback and concerns and then actually addressing them, that's really important. Giving people a space to share their wins and their roadblocks. I think too, I like to talk about like creating rituals and traditions within your space. So just like those things that your people can count on. They know these things are always going to happen during the week. I think that really creates a strong flow of, okay, on Mondays, we're going to check in. On Wednesdays, I know I'll get a newsletter. On Friday, we're going to reflect on our week. Just little things that keep happening over and over that make everyone feel
what's so
safe
good about that
and
is
knowing
that,
what's going to come next.
Consistency. Because some people will build a community. I think I've been a part of some people's communities where they build a community and more so the members are interactive, but you don't necessarily hear from the people who own the community really. You know what I mean? Where it's like you hear from them rarely. Maybe you'll get some type of video they'll throw up, or maybe they'll come on live. I mean, I've been in communities that does this, that rely heavily on video versus coming on live and really interacting or really nurturing their community. So how, and just let my listeners know how important it is to be consistent and to be engaged with your community. My listeners know how important it is to be consistent and to be engaged.
Oh yeah, you have to be involved, and I can't imagine that. I can't imagine just like not showing up. And I think that's another thing that's an expectation you really need to set as you're building your community, with how much the members can expect your involvement, because no one wants to walk into a space and then realize they're just kind of on their own again, but just on their own with more people. it does take someone to facilitate the conversations. They don't just happen on their own.
Is it important?
I think showing up is definitely
look over
important.
the time that you took to build Daisy Made, and is it important to have a team? Because like I said, you can't do it all on your own. You know, it's nice to have people that can do other things, and like I said, as entrepreneurs, we'll do it all ourselves. When did you realize, hey, this community is growing, and in order for me to see it grow, I need some help here? And in order for me to see it grow, I need some help here.
Oh, yeah. I think so. This is a whole thing. I'm like, let me take a sip of water for this. I think you have to recognize the things that are draining you, and if you can afford it, outsource it. If you can't afford to outsource it, again, find someone where you can barter or trade or somehow get some sort of help or support. I am still very much a one-person show over at Daisy Made, but I pull in freelancers a lot when there's things I just do not know how to do, or things that quite honestly just drain me and my creative juices all the way. So I think, it's knowing that you can serve your community so much better when you're supported as the community leader. It's really important. And I do understand that not everyone has those resources. I surely did not at the beginning. But as you can bring in help.
I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs.
It's like, so important to do so.
If you want to grow, you can't do it alone. You have to bring in help if you want to see it grow. And some of the other things I want to ask about Daisy Made, like what are some of the benefits of a person, of a creative solo entrepreneur being a part of Daisy Made, the community? Of a person, of a creative solo entrepreneur being a part of Daisy Made, the community.
So I like to think of like workout classes, for example. So there are like a million exercise classes in this world, right? There's like no shortage of places to exercise. I personally am one of those people, I do not enjoy exercising at all. But if I make a commitment to someone else to show up, I will do it because of that. So if I get a group of girlfriends together and we all plan to go for a walk, or I sign up for a personal training and I know someone's waiting for me, I'll show up. And I think being a part of a community for your small business where people depend on you to show up and they need you as much as you need them, and you've made an investment, it really pushes you to actually do the thing and move forward. There are a million classes for small business owners. You can Google anything. You can Google how to build a funnel. You know, I don't think that I'm doing anything groundbreaking by offering classes, but the follow-up care is hard to find. The community, the people pushing you to actually implement everything you just learned. That is so important.
I definitely know as a small business owner to have what are some of probably the key features of Daisy Made? Like, what are some of the selling points you tell people of Daisy Made? Like, what are some of the selling points you tell?
Yes. So Daisy Made is like the broader community. It's for everyone. And then Magnetic Makers is the membership. And the membership, we have 2 guest teachers come in every month and host a workshop. And then in between those workshops, we have brainstorming sessions, co-working sessions. There is a feed where everyone can ask questions, ask for resources, share. And there's like a constant chatter and just people helping people and connecting. So I think the best thing about the community is after you take the class, then you can watch it live or on your own time. Then you can come back and say, hey, I just watched that class. Does anyone else know where to actually find a template that could do this? Or does anyone have access to this or that? And we kind of like share stuff. That's another thing too. You could spend $1 million gathering all those resources, but most of your friends have already paid for them, right?
Let's send it to me.
So let's share. Let's share our fonts. Let's share it all. Right? Yeah. So I think it's definitely really about the
actually this at the beginning.
Not
how
did
you come up with the name Daisy Made? What's the story behind that name? How did you come up with the name?
Oh, I always wish I had a better idea for this. So Originally, I started Daisy Made. Yeah, it is cute, and I do love it. When I first started Daisy Made, it was with my friend Riley, and our intention was to create a small shop for creatives of cute goods, and then have a blog that kind of supported it and celebrated creatives. And so,
my editor is going to kill me.
Oh, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Came out of the socket. 1 second.
Your what came out? Oh, your headphones. It's fine. I need a sip of water anyway.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yes. Yes.
Okay. It's okay. I'll start again for the Daisy Made question. Okay.
Yes.
So when we first started Daisy Made, it was supposed to be just a shop, a small shop for creatives with resources and cute little shirts and all this stuff. We had this big vision, and the blog was really secondary. We thought, we'll celebrate creatives on the blog and highlight people. And the blog really took off, and the shop kind of didn't. And so anyway, the whole idea of Daisy Made is everything was going to be kind of like daisies and floral and fun. And then the made was because it's makers and creatives. So as the business evolved over the last couple of years, the name just stayed, and we're still just covered in daisies.
I like it.
Fine. So that's the story. You never know how your business is going to evolve. So name it accordingly.
You think it's going to be one thing, and then all of a sudden it's something else. And I think the good part is that you guys were able to embrace the change and not feel like, I didn't succeed at it. So I think that's important, most definitely.
Right. Right.
Which platforms on social media, let's say, did you use to help build Daisy Made? Like, how did you get your community on Daisy Made? To help build Daisy Made? Like, how did you get your community on?
We really started just building on Instagram and Facebook. So this was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
TikTok, I bounce in and out of. I have my moods where I really feel motivated to get on TikTok, and then sometimes I'm just not feeling it. And then really building that email newsletter. So I'd say email and Instagram are kind of the main sources at the moment.
Okay.
And then the membership itself lives on Mighty Networks.
Who wants to build a community based off their brand? What advice would you give them?
Okay, so some actionable tips that you can start doing right away to build a stronger community. On Instagram, let's say. Pick one day a week where you're going to celebrate your customers and figure out how you're going to do it. So maybe it's a feature. Maybe, actually, this could be for any platform. So maybe it's a feature in a newsletter. Maybe it's in your Instagram stories or on your feed. Think of one day a week where you're really going to celebrate your people who are already there. They're already supporting you. That's one thing I want everyone to remember, too. There's already people right there that love you and are supporting you. Really get deep into connecting with them. You don't need any more right now. Let's work on building those relationships and making them stronger. So that's my other piece of advice. And then create one ritual. What's one thing that is going to happen every single week in your space? What's something that your members can start to look forward to? Maybe it's your favorite TikToks of the week. Maybe it's what you're reading. Maybe you're going to teach somebody how to use your product or educate them. Maybe you're going to pop on and have a coffee talk. Just add one ritual or tradition and start celebrating your customers.
We like this.
I'm going to add one more. Sorry, everyone. But only just pick one of these. Pick one to start with. The other one would be figure out how you can give your audience or your community a place to talk. So either start a conversation once a week on your feed, put a little message box in your stories, create polls, somehow invite them into a conversation once a week. So create a little ritual, Celebrate your community.
No, I love those
and start
tips.
asking for feedback.
Do you think it's important to go live too? Because I know a lot of people's like, hey, I'm going to go live so I can nurture my community. But then you have a lot of people who are just like camera shy, who are afraid to even do public speaking. So do you think live is another avenue to build community?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think live is another?
I'm sure it's good. I hate it so much. So I just went live last week and I'm just like, it is so chaotic. I'm just like, I feel crazy going live. Like one person's watching and then I always wonder, is it even beneficial to repost this live to keep it up? I think you have to want to do it. I think it's good to try, take risks, know that you can always delete stuff. Nothing is forever. It's definitely a great way to kind of get your feet wet because it's, it's a moment in time that doesn't have to necessarily live beyond the live. Is it my favorite thing to do?
I know. I feel like, no. I've been live a few times.
Not at all.
You're right. It's like, oh man, is it worth it? Like, not many people are coming on. And then it's like, okay, should I just do more? And then maybe people start to come on. But I really like the tips you gave in terms of like, hey, try to really nurture the people you already have. Spotlight your people. Start the polls and stuff like that to get them to start talking. That's something I'm going to implement. I'm taking my mental notes.
You just made a really good point, though.
Yeah.
You made a really good point. So you just said maybe if I come on more, people will start watching. I think that's a good point. I think that if that becomes your ritual, if every Monday you go live, if people know when to expect it, I bet you it would grow. I think just popping on willy-nilly like I did, where people are like, what is she talking about? Yeah. And also I feel like it's just a little stressful when you're with a guest.
Yeah, you're right.
I think doing it alone is probably a good way to start, for sure.
I should have did this.
Well, you're waiting for them to join and you're like this close to your phone.
And I think when I watch live, the playback main thing I think bother me the most is because people are like you said, they're like this trying to read the comments. And I know people say, hey, you got to read the comments, shout out people. But I just think it's so weird to watch people squint and read. And you're just like, what am I watching?
Too much. And then once you're in and you're like the only person watching, then you feel bad to leave because you can see you're the only person. So I always will linger for a little bit.
I know. I think it takes
lives are not my thing. They're not my calling.
Be able to get on live, but you know what? Consistency will help people get there.
It does.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been on lives where people
and some people do it well. You're right.
On there,
You're right.
I really understand on that. So tell me what is next for Daisy May or the Magnetic Makers? So tell me what is next for Daisy May or the Magnetic Makers?
I really want to build out a library of materials that will really help makers feel less overwhelmed. That's a big goal for me in the coming year. I just feel like the biggest hurdle for most makers and creatives is just organizing their thoughts. We have so many ideas, and it's about taking one idea and breaking it down and actually pushing through it. And I really want to give people who aren't in the membership access to some really fun ways to do that. So that's a goal of mine for this year. Beyond that, I just want to keep growing the membership and meet as many awesome creatives as possible. I really love it. And I know that the more that we grow and the more humans that come in,
I really
the more
love
everyone will get out of it. So that's always a goal.
What you created with Daisy May. And it's so important because as a mom, as wives and stuff like that, it's so hard for us to find, because we're such givers, we give to everybody else, right? And it's so hard for us to find that thing that's just for us, that brings just us joy, just that little thing. And it's so awesome that you found it with Daisy May, because a lot of people don't find it. It's so important.
It is. It's so important. And if people don't find it with our community, I hope they just can connect with somebody somehow, just someone to talk to. I actually, 2 weeks ago, I was really struggling. I was just feeling so overwhelmed. And I think that just comes with growth and pressure. And, you know, I needed someone to talk to. So there's actually a program called SCORE. It's a mentorship program. It's completely free. So if you go to SCORE Mentors, I think it's .org, you can sign up and get on a Zoom call with a volunteer who will talk to you about your small business for free. And that was like healing for me. And it was also a moment of practicing what I preach, realizing that I can't support the needs of 60 plus people and not also reach out for support myself. So there are so many options out there, and anyone can DM me if you need help getting connected to support. But I really, really recommend finding it when you're feeling that way before you give up. Just sometimes all you need is to talk to somebody who is outside of your small business and can look at it from a different perspective and tell you what an amazing job you're doing, because everyone's doing an amazing job. And we don't stop to celebrate our wins. Nothing's big enough, right? We get to 4,000 follows and then it's like, okay, I got to get to 5K. We sell one thing and we want to sell more. So it's important to have people who really celebrate
that's
your
so
milestones
important. You said that,
and kind of offer
I did a show all about celebrating your wins. No matter how small they are. It's a win, you know, like you woke up today, amazing. You're still here. You made it to 2023. That is a win all by itself. And it's okay to have days when you're overwhelmed, because I feel like that often when you're juggling a lot and you do feel overwhelmed. And there's times where you got to think about your self-care and your mental health, and you take a step back, you know, you meditate, you do whatever ritual you feel you need to do in order to make it through. So I'm glad you touched on that. It's important, especially as entrepreneurs. Glad you touched on that. It's important.
Yeah, and
it has.
And let's be honest, the last couple of years have been a lot. They have been, and it's still a lot. And I don't think that we've really given ourselves credit for pushing through the last couple of years as small business owners, as mothers.
I mean,
like,
COVID,
what the hell did we just live through?
It pushed us all in isolation.
Did that just happen?
You know, it turned us into teachers.
Yeah.
And I got a whole new form of respect for teachers. Especially, listen, that third grade math
homeschooling journey was, that was epic.
And when they don't get good grades, you're like, I did that. You still didn't get a good grade? Oh my God. Yeah. That could be a whole new show.
Yep. I was gonna say, oh my gosh. Yeah, but we did that. Like, we actually did that. And we're still, we are still actively pursuing our creativity and our passions. Like, that is huge. And you have to be surrounded with people that say, hey, wait, look at all the amazing things that you're doing, and we will get to the next level. I will help you, but let's pause for a second and just give ourselves a little pat on the back.
Everybody's in a mindset
for
of
goodness sakes.
And it's like, say, take time to smell the daisies. Oh my God, Tracy, this has been such a good show. I appreciate you so much for coming on. I'm so glad we were able to connect. I've learned so much from this show already. Before we end, I asked all my guests this question, and I'm going to ask you. And the question is, what is some of the best advice you received from another woman?
Okay.
And the question is, what is some of the best advice you received
from another woman? Okay. I read something recently, and it was, so this wasn't like a one-on-one. This is something I read, but it was, what was it? Sorry. Be a factory, not a warehouse. And that is kind of like in regards to your creativity. So it's really saying, push out all these amazing ideas you have into the world. Don't put them in a dark corner where they'll never see the light of day, like in a warehouse. And I was like, oh, dang, because how often do we have all of these amazing ideas or things we want to share with the world? And we're so busy waiting for them to be perfect that they never see the light of day. And that was like,
it is.
Wow. Like it's crazy. Like, so I really have been trying to, not just in small business, but in my relationships and my friendships, if I'm thinking things, if I want to do things, really just pushing it out, pushing these ideas out into the world and not letting them collect dust, because life is short, right? And you never know who you're going to touch or where life is going to take you. So
that's awesome. I like that.
The best
You're
advice
right.
I've
There's
gone
so
lately,
many of us that
sure.
have great ideas and creatives, and that are so afraid to push that side out, and we just hide it from the world. And so that was great advice. Thank you so much. Listen, this has been an awesome show. I am so glad. I know, right?
I feel like I know you. Are we best friends now? What just happened? Oh my gosh.
Yes, I am. I'm so happy.
Please
I'm so happy we did
touch
this.
with me.
Listen, guys, I am the girl.
Okay.
I am the girl. I am Shaunie Sanders.
Yes.
And this is the Girl Take No Podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation, and I will see you next time.